Alright fellas, ain't no time for a long intro since this video is gonna be very long, so without further ado, they call me Panda-san. Welcome to Dose of Japan. October 3rd, 2006, a Shinigami named Ryuk seems preoccupied with something while the other Shinigamis relax and gamble. Meanwhile, Light Yagami, in his high school English class, observes his classmates playing games and whispering, ignoring the lesson. Ryuk and Light share their respective world thoughts about how rotten the world has become. On the way home, Light sees and picks up the Death Note. At home, he goes over the rules written inside the notebook and decides to test it by writing down the name of a criminal involved in a hostage situation on Life TV. Ryuk appears, introduces himself to Light, and Light tells him that he wants to live as a god on the human world. October 10th, 2006. As criminals begin dying from inexplicable heart attacks left and right, Interpol convenes to discuss the phenomenon. Unable to come up with an explanation for it, they turn to the world's top-ranked detective, L, whose true identity is a well-kept secret. L speaks to the Interpol representative through a computer and an electronic voice, promising them that they are dealing with a mass murder and that he will soon confront the killer, whom the general public has been calling Kira. L then tricks Light into revealing that Kira lives in Japan's Kanto region with a fake television broadcast.
If I hadn't just witnessed it. Listen to me, Kira. If you did indeed kill Lind L. Taylor, the man who you just saw die on television, I should tell you that he was an inmate whose execution was scheduled for today. That was not me.
What?
The police arrested him in absolute secrecy, so you wouldn't have heard about him on TV or through the internet. It appears that not even you have access to information about these types of criminals.
He got you there.
But I assure you, L is real. I do exist. Now, try to kill me.
You bastard.
October 17 to October 26 of 2006. Light is followed. He refuses to trade half of his life for the Shinigami eyes. He tries to have prisoners escape or draw L's face before they die. When they fail to do so, he learns that the Death Note is not all-powerful. Using this knowledge, Light devises a plan to find out who has been following him. Light has a drug dealer touch the Death Note and make him hijack a bus before he dies. During the hijacking, Light gets his tracker to reveal that he is Rei Penber, a federal agent from the United States employed by L, and Kira kills him shortly after. October the 31st to November the 7th. L is close to discovering the identity of Kira. Rei's disappearance causes L to shortlist the people who were being tracked by the FBI at the time of Rei Penber's death. He requests the surveillance equipment to be installed in the homes of those he suspects, including Light's room. Light, however, becomes aware that he is being watched and has the Shinigami locate all the cameras in his room. Later, he deceives the surveillance team by watching the news on a portable television hidden in a bag of chips and continues to kill the criminals being reported. This throws off L's suspicion. November the 28th to December the 12th. L joined Light's university and challenged him to a game of tennis. L asks him some questions regarding the Kira's case and invites him to help in the investigation. The troupe then receives the news that Soshiro Yagami has had a heart attack and is in the hospital. On the way out, L confronts and scrutinizes Light, still uncertain whether he is or not Kira. Light attempts a bluff and demands to be placed in a prison cell without television for a month to prove his innocence. December the 26th. Sakura TV receives audio tapes from an anonymous person claiming to be Kira. Light, who's watching the broadcast from his room, concludes that he should involve himself in the Kira's investigation to gather intelligence on L and the second Kira, whom he correctly infers has already accepted the Shinigami idea. Meanwhile, L suspects that the person behind the broadcast must be a different Kira from the one they are chasing. January 9th of 2007. Raito meets with L and the detectives. Meaning to test Light's analytic skills, L has him listen to the recordings confiscated by the team to determine if there are any clues in the reader's voice. In this way, L concludes that Light cannot be Kira. The team then broadcasts a recording made by L and Light to trick the second Kira, Misa Amane, into replying. Misa unwittingly reveals important details about the properties of the Death Note when she responds, and Light begins to panic. In her reply, Misa demands that the first Kira meets her in person. January the 16th to January the 23rd. Misa meets Light. Taking advantage of the situation and of Misa's love for him, Light concludes that he can use her to mislead L, while furthering his plans for a better world. Misa's Shinigami, Rem, however, threatened to write down Light's name in her own death note if Misa's safety is compromised. Later, Light, L, and Misa meet each other outside the college, and Misa is arrested on the ground of being the second Kira. January the 30th. After a few days following her arrest, Misa relinquishes ownership of her death note, thus erasing memories of his existence. Light decides to tell L that he thinks that he may be Kira subconsciously and wishes to be confined. Light then gets locked up, and Kira's execution stops and L's suspicion is heightened. Light chooses this time to give up the death note, ensuring that he will lose his memories of being Kira. His change in behavior puzzles L. Light goes then from being very calm to a completely desperate state. The Kira's executions then resumes and the new separate killings confuses L. February the 6th to February the 13th. Both L and Misa are released. Elsewhere, Rem speaks to a mysterious businessman about the death note. 8 businessmen then plan the next murder Kira will commit in order for the Yotsuba group to excel in the market. So of course, Kira begins killing again, which has L and Light thinking that Kira may be killing for monetary profit. Their suspicions lead them to the Yotsuba group, a rich organization that dominates global markets. On February the 20th, Matsuda, a policeman hired by L, decides to snoop around the Yotsuba group and do his own research. He finds evidence that Kira is in the building, but before he can act, he is apprehended by the 8 businessmen. Following L's instructions, he then fakes his own death. In one of the group's later meetings, one of its members chooses to leave, out of fear that he may have to face the consequences of Kira's action. March the 6th. Kira sets his eye on Misa after meeting her. While Misa is taking a break from meeting with the Yotsuba group, Rem contacts her. Misa is able to see the Shinigami, but her memories of being the second Kira does not return upon touching a portion of the death note that Rem has brought her. Rem then tells Misa about everything that has happened, and that she must trust Light lest she be killed. Upon re-entering the room, she then spots who the third Kira must be, Kyosuke Higuchi. March the 13th to March the 20th. While driving to Sakurachibi, Higuchi talks with Rem about his situation. L, Light, and Misa watch from the investigation team building and wonder who he's talking to. L wonders if Higuchi is talking to a Shinigami. Higuchi enters the station's office and then writes Matsuda's fake name on his death note. The team thinks that he has just written a note to himself, but finds his subsequent erratic behavior odd. L argues that Higuchi has attempted to use his killing method. Higuchi then makes the deal with Rem to obtain the Shinigami eyes. Then L realizes Higuchi can kill after looking at a person's face and orders the police to apprehend him. After inspecting Higuchi's death note, L discovers that Shinigamis do exist. While L is stunned, Light takes the death note from him and remembers that he is the original Kira. Light then kills Higuchi by writing his name on a scrap of the death note. It is then revealed that when Light gave away his death note, he added a fake rule, saying that, after having written in the book, its owner must continue to use it at least once every 13 days or perish. The investigation team reviews the rules written in the book and find that they can do little to get rid of it. Meanwhile, Light orders Misa to recover the other death note that he has hidden a few months earlier. Misa makes a second deal with Ryuk for the Shinigami eyes in order to find out L's true identity. And finally, on April the 3rd, L asks Rem about the death notes, but she reveals as little information as possible to avoid implicating Light or Misa. Meanwhile, Misa begins to use her death note to kill criminals. Although Light denies Misa's involvement, L becomes suspicious of her and Rem and realizes that it was Light's plan all along to endanger Misa so that Rem would sacrifice herself to kill L. Later, Raito finds L on the roof of the investigation team headquarters. They then discuss how distant she is from other people and how often they, like most people, lie. When the two rejoin the rest of the team, L reveals that he is planning on testing the 13-day rule, the only thing currently absolving Misa. Before he can do so, however, Rem kills Watari and L, and thus sacrifices herself in the process. After snatching away Rem's notebook, Light celebrates his victory in silence. And that is all, fellas, for this first part of the Death Note timeline. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave that thumbs up, subscribe and hit that bell. And until then, fellas, as always, take care.